Knowing what we know now, was Ross Perot right?
All I can remember from that is a bunch of charts.
Well, how has all this impacted the folks across the country? Here's back to trickle-down economics. It didn't trickle. 49.6% of our income is going to the richest 20% of our population. The second richest fifth gets 21%. The middle fifth gets 14%. The second poorest fifth gets about 10%. And the poorest folks, 20%, every one of these 20% of the population, gets 4.3%. That's not fair. You know it's not fair. I know it's not fair. That's a system that won't work. Well, let's take a quick look at the changes in income for the average U.S. family. This is in 1980, the blue. The pink is in 1990. See, there's been very little change, little drops, little drops, little drops, little drops. You get over here, big gains. For the richest, 20%.
Mr. Greenspan, I have long been concerned that you are way out of touch with the needs of the middle class and working families of our country, that you see your major function in your position as the need to represent the wealthy and large corporations. And I must tell you that your testimony today only confirms all of my suspicions. And I urge you, and I mean this seriously, because you're an honest person. I think you just don't know what's going on in the real world. And I would urge you, come with me to Vermont, meet real people. The country clubs and the cocktail parties are not real America. The millionaires and billionaires are the exception to the rule. You talk about an improving economy while we have lost 3 million private sector jobs in the last 2 years. Long-term unemployment has more than tripled. Unemployment is higher than it has been since 1994. We have a $4 trillion national debt. 1.4 million Americans have lost their health insurance. Millions of seniors can't afford prescription drugs. Middle-class families can't send their kids to college because they don't have the money to do that. Bankruptcy cases have increased by a record-breaking 23%. Business investment is at its lowest level in more than 50 years. CEOs make more than 500 times of what their workers make. The middle class is shrinking. We have the greatest gap between the rich and the poor of any industrialized nation, and this is an economy that is improving. I hate to see what would happen if our economy was sinking. Now, today, you may not have known this. I suspect that you don't, but you have insulted tens of millions of American workers. You have defended over the years, among other things, the abolition of the minimum wage, one of your policies, and giving huge tax breaks to billionaires. But today you reached a new low, I think, by suggesting that manufacturing in America doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where the product is produced. We lost 2 million manufacturing jobs in the last 2 years alone, 10% of our workforce. Walmart has replaced General Motors as the major employer in America, paying people starvation wages rather than living wages, and all of that does not matter to you. Doesn't matter. If it's produced in China, where workers are making 30 cents an hour, or produced in Vermont, where workers can make 20 bucks an hour, it doesn't matter. You have told the American people that you support a trade policy which is selling them out, only working for the CEOs who can take our plants to China, Mexico, and India. You insulted Mr. Castle. Mr. Castle, a few moments ago, a good Republican, told you that we're seeing not only the decline of manufacturing jobs, but white-collar information technology jobs. Forrester Research says that over the next 15 years, 3.3 million U.S. service industry jobs and 136 billion in wages will move offshore to India, Russia, China, and the Philippines. Does any of this matter to you? Do you give one whit of concern to the middle class and working families of this country? That's my question.
Congressman, we have the highest standard of living in the world.
No, we do not. You go to Scandinavia and you will find that people have a much higher standard of living in terms of education, health care, and decent paying jobs. Wrong, Mr. Greenspan.
May I answer your question?
You sure may.
Thank you. For a major industrial country, we have created the most advanced technologies, the highest standard of living for a country of our size. Our economic growth is crucial to us. The incomes, the purchasing power of our employees, our workers, our people are by far more important than what it is we produce. And what I'm saying to you is, yes, I found a flaw. I don't know how significant or permanent it is, but I've been very distressed by that fact. But if I may I just finish an answer to the question previously?
You found a flaw in the reality?
A flaw in the model that I perceived is the critical functioning structure that defines how the world works, so to speak.
In other words, you found that your view of the world, your ideology was not right. It was not working.
Precisely. No, that's precisely the reason.
And you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south.
My husband, who I'm going to put in charge of revitalizing the economy, because, you know, he knows how to do it, and
American insider politics is now so corrupt and dysfunctional that nobody within it can get anything done. Start with Hillary Clinton and the banks.
You made 3 speeches for Goldman Sachs. You were paid $675,000.
The full reality is much worse. Bill Clinton made Robert Rubin, former president of Goldman Sachs, his Treasury Secretary, then appointed Larry Summers and Laura Tyson afterwards to succeed him, and reappointed Alan Greenspan as chairman of the Fed. Together, they let the banks run amok. In fact, they helped them. They repealed Glass-Steagall, banned the regulation of derivatives, refused to use the Fed's authority to regulate the mortgage industry, and did nothing as securities fraud permeated the internet bubble. After leaving office, both Bill and Hillary made millions of dollars giving speeches to the banks while being remarkably quiet about the prosecution of financial crime. Now Hillary says she'll rely on Bill for economic policy. Bad idea.
Let's move on to the presidential elections. I'm curious, we're asking everybody essentially, who you think the best candidate for the economy would be?
Bernie Sanders.
Without a doubt. Why is that?
No question.
Policies?
Bernie is the only person out there who I think is talking at all about both fiscal stimulation and banking rules that will get the banks to begin to generate lending again as opposed to speculation.
Back to the purpose that they were founded for, which is to gather capital and to lend it out in a cautious and conservative way, but to lend capital out. Mm-hmm. And Clinton, along with Larry Summers, Mr. Clinton, along with Larry Summers and Bob Rubin, basically changed that system radically. And they said to the banks, we would like you to get into the speculation business. You have all this money from the public. Mm-hmm. It's free. So why don't you speculate with their money, and we're going to let you now go into the investment banking and speculation business. Well, 2007-8 came along, and you see the results of that. I think that Bernie will break that, and if he breaks that, that will be a good thing for the economy. You see a government which believes that you should transfer money from the poor and the middle classes to the rich, and that the rich will spend the money and get the economy going again. Go to Reaganomics and you try to release money to the rich in the hope that it'll trickle down to the others. We have proven time and time again, this is nonsense. It doesn't trickle down anywhere. Bernie's not going to lay out $15 trillion to save the banks when the people got fewer than 500 million. Okay? Who saved the people?
Bernard Bernanke is like a ship captain. He has warning signs. He sails the ship. There's a storm coming. He disregards any warning signals. He disregards the storm signals. He sinks the ship. 1,000 passengers drown. He saves the crew in his control tower, 5 officers and himself in a lifeboat, and he gets a medal for bravery for saving 5 people.
So you
That's Wall Street, the 5 people. The rest of the country is basically bankrupt.
Really a fan of Mr. Trump, Mark. Do you really believe
it's all relative? Because
Why?
he may only destroy the U.S. economy, but Hillary Clinton will destroy the whole world.
There are a lot of things about Donald that are quite amusing, but mostly what won't be amusing would be to see him as president. I think that he has a chance because we have Hillary. And Hillary is not going to be someone who is going to help the nation in terms of its economic plight. She has been paid quite well by the banks to keep the banks open in their speculative businesses. She has given a series of speeches, in fact, to various industrial complexes, including the oil companies and the military companies and the pharmaceutical companies and the insurance companies et al. She's given some 92 speeches. And in her from her 92 speeches, she has averaged somewhere near $200,000 per speech per company.
And it makes it very, very difficult to reverse the income preferences that have been given to the richer people in America.
Bill, during the same period, gave 96 speeches, roughly at $200,000 a speech. Those speeches were also given to the military industrial complex, the oil companies, the banks, etc. And those speeches were never recorded anywhere. The media was not allowed to visit any of those speeches. And people now ask, what were they about? They were either about something very profound and secret, which I doubt, or they were simply a method of transferring $40 million to Bill and Hillary.
One of the things that Senator Sanders points to, and a lot of your critics point to, is you made 3 speeches for Goldman Sachs. You were paid $675,000 for 3 speeches. Was that a mistake? I mean, was that a bad error in judgment?
Look, I made speeches to lots of groups. I told them what I thought. I answered questions.
But did you have to be paid $675,000?
Well, I don't know. That's what they offered. So, you know, anybody who knows me, who thinks that they can influence me, name anything they've influenced me on.
Now, with that $40 million in their pockets, I think it's very unlikely they're going to restrict the monopolistic and oligopolistic society that we live in today. In fact, I think they will live with what the banks want to do. The Democrats should have and should turn to Bernie, and even if they win, she will be paralyzed from what happens in this campaign.
All I can remember from that is a bunch of charts.
You have told the American people that you support a trade policy which is selling them out, only working for the CEOs